Hey guys, it's your girl Marielle. Welcome back to my channel, Friday Night Light Reviews, where we do reactions and reviews to other digital content, movies, and television shows. If you are here, you already know what I'm gonna ask, so go ahead and hit that like, comment, and subscribe button. Become a part of the family. Share this with your friends and family. Let's get this channel to where it needs to be. And as always, don't forget to hit me up on my other digital platforms, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. So with all of that being said, we're going to take a break within our 31 days of horror and thriller movies. Like I said, today we're going to be doing another Amazon original. Let me just say, Amazon is pushing these movies out. Very good. It is a documentary called My Name is Pauli Murray. It is directed by Julie Cohen and Betsy West. And we're hearing interviews from Pauli Murray themselves, Patricia Bell Scott, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and there's plenty of beautiful men and women that speak on this beautiful soul, Pauli Murray. So the documentary is about Pauli Murray, who was very overlooked trailblazer who made people think and fight. She influenced ideas for the RBG, fight for gender equality, and was one of the responsible for Thurgood Marshall's civil rights arguments when he got equal rights, which right there tells you they are this amazing person. So really, this is a portrait of their impact as a non-binary Black luminary, lawyer, priest, activist, and poet. Pauli Murray was a renaissance. That's what I'm gonna say. So before we go on even further, I just would like to read you something that she wrote, which I thought was amazing. Okay, so to the oppressors, now you are strong and we are but grapes aching with ripeness. Crush us, squeeze from us all of the brave life contained in these full skins. But ours is a subtle strength, potent of centuries of yearnings. We shall endure to steal your senses in that lonely twilight of your winter's grief. If you like reading like myself, that was a great poem. It's just basically saying, like, you can beat us down, but we are strong. We have this sense of sustainability, sorry, that's what I was trying to say, inside us as a people, that even though we get beat down so much, we find that inner strength ever so lightly to stand back up and keep moving. And I thought it was amazing. So her story begins, she was born around the 1910. Her mother passed away first, and then her father passed away. So she was orphaned, and she went to go live with her Aunt Pauline and her grandmother, and along with cousins and other aunts. They were a powerful group of women. They dealt with a lot of colorism, because when you look up Pauli Murray, they were a very fair-skinned person. So with Black, with indigenous blood, and some Irish, and we already know how that falls into play, but we're not going to touch on that. But even though, they all stood as Black, they may have been white passing, but they stood their ground and were Black, and taught Pauli Murray how to stand on her own 2 feet, even when she feels like she can't stand up anymore. She learned how to read between the ages of 2 and 3 years old, because she was going to school with her Aunt Pauline, who had one of the only schoolhouses for children of color. So she was already being bred in this amazement for her life, for their life. Right around the Great Depression, a lot of people were really down and out. So she lived in North Carolina, but when the Great Depression happened and she graduated from high school, she went to New York. She was like, look, I can't do nothing here. Let me just go. There really wasn't any, obviously there was racism, but you saw Black and white people together. Here's another thing. Here's a note that I thought was amazing. I think it said 15 years before Rosa Parks refused to sit into the back of the bus, her and her cousin was going to visit someone, and they were tired and they refused to get to the back of the bus because white people were coming on. and they wouldn't move, and they ended up getting arrested. And they were cold, they didn't feed them, and they were like, you know, can we go somewhere else? And the cop told them, like, you better just deal with it, or you can go to the pretty much like a dungeon and get eaten by rats. So for about 2 nights they stayed there with no food, freezing, with water coming inside their cells. And again, back to her poem, they thought that they broke them down, but they didn't. Just for a night, and joy comes in the morning, you know? So her beginnings were very powerful. Like, it gave her this fire in her gut. They were such a light to this world. And it's a shame that I'm just now learning about her, or all of us learning about her. Now, they always thought, I'm probably going to keep saying she and they, please don't charge it to my heart. They got on the vagabond, you know, with the railroad and everything. And it was better for her to kind of look like a boy than to look like a female, because she could have been sexually assaulted. She could have been beat. Shit, she probably could have been arrested. Who knows? And in the midst of her being a vagabond, she met this woman who was kindred spirits with her, as she was saying in the documentary through manuscripts and some voice recordings. They had so much fun. They did hikes. They were on the beaches. They just were chilling. They fell in love, and she told her, you know, I feel like I'm the man and you're the woman. So let's walk and be in this life as such. And she could not get with the program, and they went their separate ways, and it broke her heart. It broke Pauli Murray's heart very bad. And she already dealt with anxiety and depression, which just, I believe a lot of African American, however you want to call us, black, whatever, suffer from anxiety and depression because of the trauma that we had to endure, even through our parents, our grandparents, and everything. But okay. So she checked herself into a mental hospital. And when she was talking about their feelings for other women and not really kind of identifying herself as female, they kind of seen it as a mental disorder, when it was just her talking about, I need help because my heart is broken, and my body, my brain, and my heart and my soul is taking it as a loss. And they viewed it as a mental disability, which is so crazy that that's what homosexuality was viewed as. And you can go to jail for being part of the LGBTQ community. It's just disgusting. It's crazy. But with that being said, like I told you, she was a priest. It makes sense why she became a priest. It's just easier in my thought process than having to constantly have to feel like they have to explain who they are. They have to explain why they don't identify with whatever. And I just think that became a good drive for her. But also, according to her writings and to the documentary, when she became a lawyer and she did all these amazing things, she felt like the law can only take her but so far to touch her community. She felt another way is to come to us on a spiritual level, which then led her to be the first African American, the first female ordained priest in an Episcopalian church. So, I mean, Pauli Murray was just breaking through glass. There was no ceiling for her. It was just up, 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 up. Even when she may have thought that, man, this may be a little bit tough, she kept going. This is why I think critical race theory is important to teach into schools. I don't know. I didn't even know it was called critical race theory, but that's neither here nor there. Because learning about people like Pauli Murray is important, because we don't know what our children, what ourselves are dealing with. And sometimes we need a matriarch. We need somebody to identify with to help us keep that fire in us, keep that light from going out and going into darkness. And this is something that needs to be taught. I think it's funny that when she was trying to get into Yale Law, that they were teaching about race, teaching about indigenous people, but told Pauli Murray, because of your race and your sex, you can't be admitted into this program. So she ended up going to a different law school where Thurgood Marshall was at, Paul Macy, James Baldwin, all these amazing people. And for the first year, they wouldn't let her talk. But she was scoring very high and on everything, outbeating the guys, outbeating the men. And then that second year, they allowed her to talk. And in between that, she wrote this argument destroying the 14th Amendment. And if you don't know what the 14th Amendment is, it's about human rights and everybody should be treated equal, right? She tore it down because every time somebody tried to make an argument for black people, for women, they would say, what are you talking about? But you can't say it's equal rights for humans and it doesn't include women, it doesn't include black people, and it doesn't include black women. That's no. And it got passed through Thurgood Marshall taking it to the Supreme Court. Her argument, her essay that they told her was trash and wouldn't make a difference is what helped Thurgood Marshall beat and get equal rights. Well, supposedly equal rights for us, but that's neither here or there. All of her achievements were ahead of the time. She did the bus thing before Rosa Parks, not to disrespect Rosa Parks, but I'm just saying she was ahead of her time. She wrote that essay 2-3 years before Thurgood Marshall even won, according to, when he went to the Supreme Court of Justice. She was talking about equal rights for not only women, people who identify with non-gender conforming roles, the LGBTQ plus community. I mean, this person was so ahead of the game. This is something I find to be disgusting, but she wrote along with other people about the anti-lynching bill that they wanted to be passed in 1930. It's 2021. That anti-lynching bill has still not been passed. Still hasn't been passed. And people talking about let go of the past. It's been so long ago, but this is 1930 and it still hasn't been passed. But whatever. When we discussed when she was at Howard University how they kind of like didn't want her to talk, and because she literally was knocking people off the mark with just getting better grades. And I know y'all may disagree, some people may disagree with me, and I'm not saying this is all black men, because it's not. I'm married to a black man and he's not like that. So, and if you disagree with me, we can talk about it in the comments. Just be very respectful. Don't come at me sideways, because I don't like that. So I think because of the hierarchy trying to get and be seen as a human being, black men, their masculinity of them being afraid that this person, Pauli Murray, could possibly be better than them and not treat them as equal, I think that has their masculinity is wrapped in a little bit of white supremacy to try to beat the hierarchy. You know what I mean? And if you don't agree with it, it is what it is. But that's just how I feel about. I think it happens with certain black men, and black women are the most hated, but the most imitated beings in this world. Okay. Pauli Murray was a fighter. This documentary showed even when she, again, fell in love with someone else named Renee, but I think her name was Irene. When she got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, that's what she passed from in 1985, I believe. Irene helped her. Medications, with her writings, with cataloging everything. I mean, this Pauli Murray, when her great niece went to the house, I mean, it was bookshelves upon bookshelves, files and files and files. I just can't imagine these writings, these poems. It must be amazing. There are in a library, I believe, in North Carolina. There's another lady that wrote her autobiography called Jane Crow, which is a story that she wrote to Eleanor Roosevelt saying, we all know what Jim Crow is, but I'm living in Jane Crow, where I'm a black person, a black non-gender conforming person, and it's harder for me than it is for Jim Crow to be passed, and it's right, because we still dealing with it today. Here's something that for people who think that slavery and all this stuff was thousands of years ago. In 1959, that was one of the last reported lynchings, which we've seen in today with the young boy that was found in Georgia hanging, a girl hanging. So before that, one of the last recorded lynchings was 1959. How was that so long ago? Some of y'all parents were born. Some of y'all grandparents was born. Like, my parents was born after that, but I'm just saying it's not that long ago. There's people still alive. And all of this shit was happening. So it just irks me when people say get over it. Because the past is not the past. The past has come and made itself in the present. And I really pray that people keep taking people like Pauli Murray's work and standing up for the good fight. So our future children don't got to deal with what we're dealing with right now. She wrote a book called In Her Shoes, which was read by Eleanor Roosevelt, by James Baldwin. I mean, this lady, she was just great. Her thought process was so futuristic. She knew she needed to get everything out, even though she didn't want to do an autobiography, even though she didn't want to do a manuscript. She finished it. She said, I have to finish it before this life is over. Before I leave this earthly realm, I have to get this out because it's going to help people in years to come. And it still has. I mean, in the documentary was a lawyer or activist who, with the whole equal rights, why people part of the LGBTQ community can get married and do all these different things that we take for granted that we do on a regular daily basis. They use some of Pauli Murray's arguments to get that passed. So, and she died in 1985, and this happened, a few years ago, and that's just amazing. She talked about equal rights always, talked about gender equality always, beat the hell out of the 14th Amendment to help Thurgood Marshall get the equal rights that was passed back then. She has this book that I already went and ordered on Amazon called Songs of the Weary Throat. I can't wait to read it. So, because this is Halloween month, out of the pumpkins, I'm giving the documentary Pauli Murray 5 pumpkins. This is such an amazing documentary. If you're a teacher who happens to watch my videos, please go ahead and check out my name is Pauli Murray. See if this is something that you can show to your children in class. This is something that is of great importance. I'm so glad I stumbled upon this documentary because I didn't know who Pauli Murray was, and I'm glad that I watched it. It's definitely a great watch. I definitely seriously recommend it. And Amazon, you're doing amazing with these documentaries. Keep them going. So we are at the end of this video, and you know me, don't forget to share this video. Don't forget to leave a comment and hit that subscribe button. And as always, stay safe, be courageous, stand proud. I'll see you in the next one.